Welcome back, everyone, to the Goodwill Podcasting. Alongside me, as always, is Dan, and now our new and third permanent co-host, Stone.
Hello, Dan and Connor, and everyone listening and watching. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
You didn't know we were interviewing you on the Fincher episode?
Yeah, I'm ready. Oh yeah, you were interviewing him in the Fincher episode? Yeah, I'm no longer in my car, so that's a positive. No branding for Starbucks, so we're gonna not make as much money off of this episode as we did that one. But trying to see, you got a Hydro Flask, maybe that'll work. But everyone's obsessed with the Stanley Cups right now, so I don't know.
I also promise we won't be here for 3.5 hours like we were last time with Stone, talking about Fincher, every one of his movies, but still good stuff to talk about today.
Yeah, getting into some of the worst movies of 2023. Starting off with Rebel Moon. Dan, you want to take lead?
I guess first I'll say, just to kind of set the scene for us, what were your guys' expectations going in? Or like, what was your level of excitement like when this was announced, or like leading up to it? Were you excited? Were you not anticipating something good? You're shaking your head, Stone.
I honestly haven't watched a lot of Zack Snyder's work. So I didn't really have horrible expectations going in, because I know a lot of people like diss on him a lot, which is, some is warranted, especially in this movie, but some is not. At least he is doing, what he wants to. But my expectations were better than what the movie was. It was a lot worse than what my expectations were, because I kind of was just going in kind of not positive, but I was like, it can't be that bad. But it was not good.
What about you, Connor?
I was pretty excited for this movie going into it, because all I really heard about it was that it was basically going to be a group of rebels in Star Wars, but it was going to be rated R. It was going to be violent. You're going to see a darker side of the galaxy. And then right before I had watched this movie, I read that Lucasfilm didn't pick it up because they thought it wasn't worth it or something along those lines. And so then that just diminished every bit of excitement I had.
Yeah, I remember when I first actually made a video when I heard about this originally, and they were talking about how it was going to be like the inspirations were obviously Star Wars and then Akira Kurosawa, so like Seven Samurai, and I was like, oh, okay, like cool. I was excited. But yeah, I think mentioning Kurosawa and Rebel Moon together is not really a good move. But I was excited. I'm not gonna lie, I was excited, and it was just one of the blandest. I think bland is a good word. Just like blandest movies I've seen in a long time. Not just this year. Despite it looks decent visually. I think that's where it succeeds. How do you guys feel about that?
That's the only positive thing at all that anybody really can say about it. And one thing that's funny that Connor mentioned, which I think is, I wonder if anybody else went into this movie thinking the same thing, is that this is not the rated R version. This is the PG-13 version. And the rated R version is going to be his director's cut, which is the only thing that I guess will make it better, is the fact that it'll have more sex in it, which that's what was missing. So
the fact that he actually came out and said that is so hilarious. Like, he was like, "Oh, I got it covered now. We have sex, so it'll be a good movie." Like, I just
it's not what I wanted.
No.
When's Zack Snyder gonna learn to drop like a good movie the first go around and not be like, "Oh, you have to wait till the director's cut"? Like,
that's the $1 million question.
Yeah, the thing is, both him and Netflix are going to profit off of this, because I feel like a lot less people are going to watch part 2. People are still going to watch it, which I think that comes out in April. And then more people might tune into the director's cut. So 3 different movies that Netflix is getting watched, and also Zack Snyder. So
it's just crazy to me. With like, I almost respect his fan base for the level of dedication, because like, to me, the man hasn't made a good movie really in 10 years. And that's going back to Man of Steel, and a lot of people don't like that movie. I do. But even before that, it was Sucker Punch, which was a disaster. And then it was that Owl movie, Legends of the Guardians or whatever, which I've never seen, but I don't know what that's like. Um, and then going back before that, he started off so strong with Dawn of the Dead, 300, and Watchmen, but then I think Watchmen was 2009. Yeah, 2009. So it's been a really long, kind of like fairly dry spell, but his fans are still so passionate, and it's like almost confusing to me, but I guess I respect it.
I don't know. I don't get why they have such dedication towards him. Like I said, yeah, I don't know if they're maybe Christopher Nolan is maybe the same way, like having just, I mean, his films are better, but having like these, diehard fans, attached to you. And one thing I'll never forget about watching it, that I will never watch it again, but is it was so easy to, like, 30 minutes in when they go and visit the first dude, the shirtless dude, who for some reason I think they make a deal and they're like, if this guy doesn't do anything with, this bird, we will like stay here with you. I think they made a deal like that. And I was like,
Yeah,
why
to
are you
be
making this
enslaved.
deal? Yeah, I was like, why are you making this deal? You just met this guy. But I was like, okay, and then that was finished, and they went to get someone else. I'm like, are they just gonna? Is this the whole movie? Because I was like 40 minutes in, I was like, and that was the whole movie. Just take one planet. You don't talk about the planet at all. You really don't necessarily talk about the person that much. You just have a cool action scene for them. And I thought, and it's funny, they didn't even have an action scene for who is that? That one guy, the third guy, the gladiator type guy.
Jaimin
He like
Hansu.
yeah, they didn't even have anything. They just talked.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just talked to him, and then that was it. I was like, "What's the point? Nothing is interesting that's going on right now."
And he's also
Wait for the director's cut.
and he's also probably the best actor in the movie, and I feel like that was such a waste of him. Like in terms of just talent, I think he's probably the most talented. So, and also something I thought was genuinely funny. They were trying to recreate the Inglorious Bastards opening scene when they first show up. Like that's what that was trying to do. Like that scene thought it was going to be like tense and like that to me was a clear ripoff, and it was so funny. Because literally as I was watching it, I was like laughing. Like this scene thinks it's like doing something here, but there's no actual tension or really anything. Like it was really, I thought that was funny. But
Fun fact for y'all. I don't know if you know this, but I was just checking it out. What I thought was maybe the most interesting part that they just skewed away from was that robot at the beginning.
yeah, with Anthony
Uh,
Hopkins was
oh, you did know that? Okay, I was just looking it up. I was
I
like,
didn't know
Anthony
that.
Hopkins.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, then he just literally runs off for the rest of the movie, and like everyone was kind of like, "Huh?" Like I kind of want to know more about like these robots and their story and what happened to them. Like it was like here's a you know great voice, legendary actor with an interesting maybe story in this movie, and then it's just like he's gone. So that was bizarre as well.
Yeah, this movie's runtime is 2 hours and 14 minutes. How much time do you think is cut out if we take out the slow mo?
It's a lot,
40
and
minutes,
it's like
probably.
and I just and it's funny because going back to what we were talking about earlier with why people like, I guess he does have a very unique style, and I guess if you really do like the visual style and like it appeals to you, like you're gonna like seeing the same stuff over and over again. So like, I understand, and I'm just like people's personal taste differs, but like to me, when you're using something like slow motion like that, it's very you can't overuse it. Like it's not meant to be gone back to over and over again, especially when there's just nothing happening that you care about or like have any need to see slowed down. It's just it just feels weird. I don't
But
know.
yeah, like the bar scene when they first, or what I'm assuming is a bar, when they first meet Charlie Hunnam's character. Like
Yeah.
nothing about that made it feel like we needed slow motion.
Yeah, it's funny. Just because like I said, I don't watch Zack Snyder's movies a whole lot. So, but I was exposed to a lot of slow motion during the film. And it's funny, like I've tried to make a mental note now when I ever watch films since then to see and notice when other directors use slow motion, because I think there's a reason why I never noticed it, because it really has an impact on me. And I'm thinking about the moment rather than the slow motion that's going on. Right. So I'm like, I've started to try to, I haven't found any yet, but I'm like, I watch for slow motion now to see like how it's effectively supposed to be used, because it's not here. Like the scene that you were talking about, the one I thought about was 3 seconds in when she like she like drops sand or something right at the beginning. I was like, oh, all right, sand, cool.
Hey, if you have Darth Vader in it, you know, that's a good defense.
And also just like the villains, like it's just a straight up Star Wars ripoff. They feel like they really feel like Nazis, like in space. I mean, it's just like they're so generic. They could be anybody. You could have anyone playing them. Like, the whole thing feels like if you sat down and told it, and like people said this, but it's legit. Like if you told AI to just write a generic story about this woman in space who's leading a rebellion, like it would spit this shit out. And like that is just, I didn't even find it entertaining. Like it's if you want to do that, just at least put on a show. And I just don't, because it just all feels so like just safe and bland. And maybe the rated R version will be better, but I don't know. Have you seen Watchmen, Stone?
Not in a long time, probably since it came out, which I was like 10.
I feel like that's a movie.
You watched that when you were 10?
Something like that, yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's a movie people have like some people really don't like. I mean, I'm a fan of it. How do you feel, Connor?
I enjoyed it. I watched it for the first time ever last year.
Okay.
I thought it was good. It seems like he wasn't as into his slow-mo back then as he was now. Like,
well, because there was like good source material that he was working off of, and they were characters that were like he knew what they were supposed to be.
yeah.
He wasn't trying to create something from scratch. And 300 is obviously a very simple story where we understand like the context and the history behind it. So it's kind of like that was kind of a layup. But I mean, the visual style was great there. But yeah, just creating all this stuff from scratch, I don't know. I wish someone else had been in charge of this.
Like
yeah, that's
Dave
what I was just about
Filoni.
to. Yeah. I was going to ask you that because Watchmen is from pre-existing material. I can't get over how bad the story was because just like how they were jumping to planet, I kind of figured out where the story was going. Where, let me look up what the lead characters' names were real quick. The woman, right?
Cora, yeah.
Cora.
And Gunner, right? Basically the two main characters. Every single time that they're alone, it is only a opportunity for her to dump exposition on him and tell him her backstory. And then I was like, there's no way they're going to do this. They try to make you think that somehow there was an emotional connection while she was just dumping exposition on him. And they try to create some type of love story. I'm like, there's no actual natural conversation here.
Yeah.
It's just information. And then also just even talking about that makes me think how none of these people ever interacted with any of each other on the ship. They grab one and they're already out the next planet. And it's a terrible story.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I thought Michael Huisman, I think is his name. I thought he was like aggressively bad in this movie. Like, I think he seemed lost. The way he was delivering his lines, it was like I thought distractingly bad. In terms of the performance, which I didn't really feel. Everything else felt fine. But that, I don't know how you guys felt about him, but I didn't think he did a good job here.
See, I think the one that was most distracting to me was Ed Skrein. I don't think he was good at this at all. I mean, I think I've only ever seen him in one other thing, which was Deadpool. So I don't really know his acting capabilities, but every time he was on screen, I was just annoyed or laughing because of how bad it was.
Did anybody give a good performance? Anybody that you can think of in the movie that gave a good performance?
I'm not totally sure how to properly pronounce his name. I know Dan said it before.
Diamond Hansu.
Yeah.
I think that just atones the fact that he's a good actor because if you think about it, all of them having bad performances is on Zack Snyder. It's not on them because
it's the writing mostly.
Yeah, well, even like Zack is supposed to get what performance he wants out of them, and he looks at them and what they're giving him, and he says, "Yeah, that's exactly what I want." And us looking at it as an audience is like, "That's terrible." And I haven't seen a lot of the guy. I'm not going to say his name here. It's Mikhail Huisman, like you said. He's in The Haunting of Hill House, which is solid, and I think he's a lot better in that because Mike Flanagan is a lot better at giving direction than Zack Snyder is. I guess for the project, but
Yeah, and I think Sophia Boutella was fine, but like I just
Yeah.
don't think she gets much to do. Like,
Yeah.
and I think they all don't. And like I said, Djimon Hounsou, like, how many words does he say in this movie? Like, I mean, you know, is he just there as like a presence, or like I don't really understand. So I don't think anyone really stands out to me. Also, I didn't even realize that was Ray Fisher. He's the guy who
Yeah.
dies, right?
Yeah, he's
Like,
cyborg. Yeah.
and like he dies, and it's just like, okay,
Yeah.
like, all right, are we supposed to be upset? Like, I don't know who this man is.
It's such a bad story. Like you're introduced to him like 10 minutes beforehand, and then he dies, and it's supposed to be so emotional. And you're like,
Yeah,
why am I feeling emotion? And the thing that you're mentioning, Titus, um, his character is such a focus at the end of the story as well. And he's given no focus really at all. They pick him up on that gladiator planet, and he's just there in the background. But then towards the end of the story, they're like, oh shit, they got General Titus. I'm like, okay, he hasn't done anything in the entire movie. He's like, no, they can't have General Titus. We're in trouble. I'm like, "Ah, we haven't seen anything from him."
yeah.
I made this comment to Dan last week. My favorite part of the entire movie is that Charlie Hunnam's character dies because I love Charlie Hunnam, and now he's not a part of this franchise anymore.
Yeah, he's probably the second best actor in the film.
I was gonna bring that up.
Oh,
Yeah.
my third, and Anthony Hopkins.
The goat. Yeah. In terms of like something I was thinking about was, I think this maybe could have been interesting as like maybe like a little series where like you're getting an episode about like each person, like their backstory. You could kind of, maybe that backstory wouldn't directly relate to like the Empire or whatever the fuck the evil mustache twirling villains are, but like they could be the presence there, and you could like learn a little bit about the world and the person, and you know, context of the universe slowly over time. Because this felt like, and this is a comp. I guess it's an easy comp to make, but I feel like I've heard it. Like, it felt like the original Justice League movie, where they were just like, "Here's all these characters. Here you go. Like, let's make a story." And it's like, when they did that, they were trying to copy the MCU, but the MCU spent 20 years, you know, 10 years building up, you know, all these characters and like letting them grow and like develop organically, and then it all melded together naturally. But DC was like, shit, we're so far behind. Here's the Justice League, like, knock yourselves out. And then this feels exactly the same way.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. That's a good point. The comparison to Justice League. Yeah, definitely.
And then, you know, it obviously did get a little better with his, you know, extended cut, because you just understand a little bit more about the characters, and it's like, okay. But again, like, not everyone's going to seek out that experience once they watch this and they're like, this is trash. So
Would you bring up the Justice League brings up the most important question of all. Do you think James Gunn can save the DCU?
yeah, I do. I think DC is, in my opinion, just like far superior to Marvel. Like, I think it has better characters,
I agree.
better stories to tell. It's a big job, but yeah, I'm fairly confident in his ability to do it. What about you,
Yeah.
Stone?
I think he'll do fine. I'm a little bit worried, and I've said this on a couple lives, but the fact that his Superman Legacy cast is so big, did not think there's going to be 20 people cast in a Superman Legacy movie. So that
Yeah.
makes me a little scared. I don't want it to feel like Guardians of the Galaxy, even though I really like Guardians of the Galaxy. You know, I want it to feel different. I don't want the DC to feel like the MCU, you know. But I think I texted you this, Dan, but I don't know if you ever responded. Did you see when a fan cast that I had, Connor, for his Batman was Harris Dickinson? I feel like he'd be very good at it. That's the guy from the taller brother from the Iron Claw.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like
He's
he
a
would
good
be.
actor.
Yeah, I think he could be. I think he could be like, you know, sexy Playboy dude, and then also like a badass, honestly. And he's like, especially with him picking David Cornsweet for Superman, he's really like an unknown actor. I feel like that is what maybe James Gunn is trying to do. The supporting characters that he's casted in Superman Legacy so far have been pretty known actors. Besides, no one really knew who David Cornsweet was. The only thing I've ever seen him in was Pearl, still. And I think Harris Dickinson even has a little bit more fame really than David Cornsweet does. But I feel like he would be kind of a good unknown actor to cast who could pull off the role. That's just my opinion. And I don't know anything about Batman. I don't read comics and stuff like about his actual like deep lore. But Batman's 6'2" and Harris Dickinson's 6'2". So there you
Yeah,
go.
I feel like in my head, like he has like lighter hair. I feel like I want like a darker, like dark hair. I don't know.
Hair dye, my guy.
Yeah,
My top pick is Jensen Ackles.
Yeah, I think he's too old. That is another thing
they're
though
they're
that
gonna go super young, right?
well, I saw somewhere that Batman's going to be a little bit older than Superman, but not super old. Like I think David Cornsweet's 30, and so I'm guessing like 34, 35. Which I think Jensen Ackles is. I love Jensen Ackles, but I think he's like 45.
45. Yeah.
Yeah, but Harris Dickinson's 27, so he's actually a little bit younger than David Cornsweet. But we'll see. I think he's a solid pick. And I have never seen anybody throw it around. I think that one dude from Reacher is ginormously too big. Like
Alan
naturally.
Richardson.
Yeah. I haven't watched Reacher, but yeah, I think that I'd be just terrified of him always, even if constantly, you know. He'd be a guy I'd look at and be like, yeah, that's Batman. When he's dressed as Bruce Wayne, I'd be like, yeah, that's for sure Batman. Look how gigantic he is.
With the way Hollywood's going, it's probably going to be Pete Davidson.
Please don't say that. Do you imagine? But yeah, all in all, I mean, this was just such a shame. I was really excited. Maybe more excited than you guys, and it was just such a waste of time. I don't think the second one's going to be much better because it's just building on nothing. So I guess we'll see. But do you guys want to move on?
You got to wait for the director's cut.
Yeah.
It'll all be fixed.
Yeah.
Okay, this might
one
be
thing
a
I'll
hot
ask-
take for Batman. How would you guys feel about Michael B. Jordan?
I don't think he'll do it. His career is not focused on that right now, I would say.
Wait, didn't one of you talk about he's playing Hercules?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, I didn't hear a word about that, but that's interesting.
I've seen that pop up like 10 different places.
He's not playing Hercules, I don't believe.
I've seen it in like 10 different places that Michael B. Jordan got cast to play Disney's live action Hercules.
I don't know, because I just saw that Guy Ritchie was dropped as the director for it. So, I mean, it could be like a Blade situation where they're just effed over. They're just, I don't know. But
So
Disney looks to set.
This says Guy Ritchie dropped out on the 17th. And this article from 2 days ago says it's reportedly going to be Michael B. Jordan. I didn't know Guy Ritchie even dropped out of that. But I mean, I think people would lose their minds if they cast a black actor as Batman. Keep it completely real. I don't care, but people would lose their minds.
Oh, I'm well aware they would.
Yeah, but I don't think James Gunn would do it.
Interesting, but
here's the thing: get over it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care, but like, I think they'd probably want a movie that's like that would just cause so much controversy, and it's like, you know, some people view that as like free marketing, but I don't know. I just don't think that would happen. I think Superman is a character that I think could easily be anyone, and I think it really works because of like what Superman is about. Like he's an immigrant. You know, he's always kind of standing out. Like he's like an outsider. I think it works a lot better and makes a lot of sense. But I don't know. Would be interesting though.
All right, if we're going younger, what about Aaron Taylor Johnson?
Is he blonde?
No.
Man, you're really all about that hair. He's like, no.
Yeah, take a look. I don't know. Like,
yeah, hair dye don't work in Gotham. We need.
If only we lived in a world where hair dye was around.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like he's kind of getting so many roles right now.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm gonna put some thought into this.
Yeah,
35-year-old actors with black hair. Search it up.
Stone, we got to make a TikTok just about blonde-haired actors that could play him.
Mm-hmm. Make you really, really piss off Dan. Like, nah, it couldn't work. Because I think even in the Batman, in the Batman, Pattinson's hair is definitely dyed darker. I feel like his hair does not look like that usually.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of his Batman. I'm really excited for the second one.
Wait, don't you love Val Kilmer's Batman?
Nah, I
Oh, I
don't.
thought you did.
He's like he's okay, but I'm not a big fan. I like Michael Keaton, but like that's just it's a whole different like era of
Yeah,
Batman. Like the character was different, everything was different about the
yeah.
time. So for when it was, I liked him.
Well,
But
and Val Kilmer's Batman is just so aggressively horny.
true, yes, truly. I honestly think most of the time Batman struggles with like any kind of romantic storyline. I don't think it usually works, but um, yeah, it was fine. But do you guys want to move on to our next movie?
Yeah, let's move on to You People.
Yeah, it's
I
another
hate
another
this movie.
another Netflix movie. Did anyone like this movie? Like, did anyone out there enjoy it? Like, I mentioned it in a video recently, and a few people were like, "Oh, I thought it was good," but I'm not sure what you took away from it if you enjoyed it exactly.
My biggest issue with it is I'm a huge stand-up comedy fan. Like, and they have one of the greatest stand-up comedians of all time with Eddie Murphy. And then they also have Andrew Schulz, who's one of the greatest of today's generation for stand-up comedy, and didn't use them.
Yeah, and it's weird. Like, I guess to just give some general thoughts, I think this movie is really strange, in a lot of ways, and I think one of the ways it's strange is it's a comedy, right? But a lot of the jokes and punchlines are just racism. Like
Yeah.
that's what it is, and it's all types of racism against everyone. But like that's what the jokes are. So it's a movie that's designed to, I guess, try to bring people together and be like, oh, we're all the same, blah blah blah. But like the punchlines the entire time are just stereotyping and racism. Like, and that's what it is. So if we're not, are we supposed to laugh at that and then get some kind of positive message? Like, it's super strange to me.
I generally think it would have been a good drama. I mean, but it's
Dude,
very
yes.
strange that it is a comedy because you just feel uncomfortable the entire time you're watching it.
I think it should have been a drama, and at the end, they should not have been together. And then the message is, if you are an asshole like this, you can destroy like something that was a positive thing. And like, it's not just like, okay, these parents are legitimate racists on both sides, and they're just racist, but it's funny because they're old, and then like it's okay because they have a magic realization that like, after living for 50 or 60 years like this, they can just snap their fingers and not care. And then the couple lives happily ever after. Like, it's so stupid. Um, I think it would have been way better as a serious movie where it doesn't end happily. Like, it's really, really weird.
Yeah, and the
I think-
director, Kenya Barris, I think I'm pronouncing that right, went 0 for 2 last year because he was also the director for White Man Can't Jump, the remake.
Yeah, I just talked about this again, but he's remaking the fucking Wizard of Oz and It's a Wonderful Life. Like, I don't understand like how this.
I guess he must have money, like because I don't think there's a studio. Maybe Netflix. Well, White Man Can't Jump was Hulu, and then this one was Netflix. So maybe it's a streaming company that's putting money into it.
No, it's I want to say it's Paramount because they own those movies, and they're giving him the rights to do this, which is just like so bizarre. Like, does he have like blackmail on someone, or like what's happening here? Like,
because neither of these movies were successful.
No, and it's
Well,
like
and he was a writer
They're just
for
bad.
Coming to America too, like
that
which was another flop.
Yes, and also the Blade sequel. Not Blade, the Shaft, Jesus Christ, the Shaft sequel. But I think the one good thing he did was the show Blackish, which a lot of people like. But TV is also just so different, and it doesn't necessarily translate to just like making good movies or being able to write well. Like, I don't get it. But yeah, it's a super strange movie. And I also feel like there's a little bit of, I mean, Jonah Hill, obviously a lot of stuff's come out about him since this, and like doesn't seem to be necessarily the best dude. But also I feel like there's a lot of weird shit in here with like him kind of playing the victim of like the poor white man who just wants to like kind of use black culture however he wants, and like, you know, not that anyone should limit themselves in terms of like the music they listen to or whatever the art that they consume or whatever, but like it's a little too victim-y for me, I think, in certain parts where he's kind of like, and that's I think it's him talking about himself in real life. um so I think I felt a little weird about that, but I don't know how you guys feel.
Something I find very strange is the fact that, as you said, in this movie, he's like kind of consumed in black culture. Jonah Hill's character, like with his podcast and everything, and like his best friend. So I don't necessarily know why he, meets Amira's parents, why he turns into his mother and starts doing racist kind of jokes at them. It doesn't make sense
So
for his
weird.
character at all. He shouldn't be
So
doing
weird.
that. He shouldn't be awkward around black people, So I didn't really necessarily get that. But I think like a big problem with this movie also, in my opinion, was you have like three really big comedic powerhouses here with Jonah Hill, Eddie Murphy, and Julia Louis-Dreyfus, right? Those are like the three of the four. Well, who's the fourth one? It's Lauren London, right? His partner in this movie. And I necessarily haven't seen her in that many comedies at all. And she's not like a big, like, like a star, comedic star like the other three. And they write zero jokes for her, and she's basically kind of the second lead of this film, but they don't give her any really comedic moments because I don't think that they know if she can handle it or not. So that's very strange. I think that was like in my opinion, I feel like it would have been cool to see Jonah Hill bounce off, a better, in my opinion, black comedic actress. I don't know who that would have been, but very, very interesting.
Yeah. What's kind of your overall take, Connor?
I'm with you. Like the whole victim mentality made this movie just so annoying and hard to watch. Like, I mean, halfway through, maybe not even halfway, I kept checking how much time was left in the movie just so I could get through it. Like, and I hate you, Dan, for bringing up that we should talk about this on this episode because it made me watch it for a second time.
Yeah.
When we were talking about doing this episode, I mentioned that I erased you people out of my mind like forever. So, my biggest disappointment is the comedy. Like, I mean, Andrew Schulz only had like 2-3 lines, which I get. He's not really an actor, but you could at least have him write in like jokes, because I don't know if you two are familiar with his work. He makes decently racist comments on stage, but they're like well versed and like in good spirits. Like, he's one of the best at it in today's comedy scene. So he could have greatly helped this script.
Yeah, and like the writing is like this is it. The writing is legitimately horrendous. Like Stone, like you said, like he acts like no one in their right mind would act like this who's had any exposure to any. Like it's not, nothing about it feels genuine. It feels like someone trying to act uncomfortable, which is just like really bizarre. And they all kind of seem that way. And like there's just like, I don't know, like Eddie Murphy is talking about like Farrakhan, like that's not even like a funny, it's not like a haha thing. Like he's like a serious, like legitimate racist, like who said like super hateful shit. Like it doesn't seem something that like you really should just be kind of like lightly throwing into the like dialogue. It's just there's so many weird choices and so many moments where I just stopped and was just like, what are they doing with this? And it just makes you wonder how this got made. And like you said, you have pretty much Eddie Murphy like playing it straight as just like a complete asshole. So it's just such a waste of time, I think. And again, I'm just curious what people's takeaway is from this that liked it.
One thing I'm really curious about is the fact that supposedly these two love each other like to death, but neither of them, like, she doesn't learn anything about the Jewish community. He doesn't learn anything about Muslims at all. And whenever it's brought up, it's like really awkward, and it's around their family. And it's like, wouldn't you do some research on this if like this is your partner's background at all? It seems like they just don't ever talk about it. Like he was mentioning all this stuff in bed with her. It's like, do you want to do this? Like, why are you all of a sudden like a devout Muslim? And she's like, I am one. It's like, y'all, what do y'all do? Just buy shoes all the time? Like, what is the deal here?
Do you know anything about each other? And like, again, there's a like at the core, there's like a semblance of a real movie here, like educating like people about like Islam or Judaism, like in a natural, like coherent way. And like, I mean, Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, like, it all comes from the same shit. It's the same people who branched out in slightly different ways, and there's a lot of common ground. So like that could have been the core of the movie, but instead it just like makes everyone. It still makes everyone feel so different and like othered, and just no matter who you are, it's like we're all actually not that different. And I don't take that away from the movie. I take it as like, oh, we're all so different, but like, if we really try to be nice, we can like coexist. Like that's just not a good message. I don't know. And the scene at the end, like Jonah Hill confronts Eddie Murphy, and then immediately after, what's Lauren London? Is that her name?
Yeah.
He confronts Julia Louis-Dreyfus in the same exact way, literally like bar for bar, and it's just like,
Yeah.
bro, like this is so bad. Yeah, I hate this movie a lot.
Yeah, I'm looking here. Stone gave it a 2-star. He was a little nicer than I was.
You see my review was though? Check that out.
Let's
What'd you
read
say?
it. Terrible script, but a Tron-themed wedding would be fire.
That's true. Tron wedding. I was like, that makes some sense. That would be a sick wedding. Like I went on the new Tron ride at Disney World, and Tron's pretty cool. I gotta admit. I mean, I'm excited for Jared Leto to be in the third one. Did you see what they're doing? They're doing like a TR and then a 3 and then an N.
Yes.
It's so dumb.
Like Tren, like the supplement that's basically steroids.
I don't know what people are doing.
I will say something. Paid so much money to make this, like these kind of marketing materials and come up with these ideas, which is like so wild to me.
Yeah, honestly, can I get that job?
Yeah. Something about you people that if you look like, subtract all the weird storylines about basically what the movie's about, and you look at it as, is it a rom-com? Maybe, I don't know. But on the surface, you just look at, okay, guy and girl meet, they have different parents. The parents aren't okay with it. Guy and girl break up. Parents realize they did wrong. They get the people back together. Like, there's nothing new or interesting here. Like, if you just think of that in your head as a movie watcher, you can come up with that. It's the basic storyline of any single romantic, I wouldn't really call this a romantic comedy, but just honestly, just comedies in general. But then you just add all the weird shit in it, and it's just, it's an uncomfortable, unoriginal watch that I had to watch at an hour of at the gym this morning because you guys made me.
Hey,
I'm telling you, Netflix, so many of these movies feel like they're written by a fucking robot. So many of them. It's over and over and over again. And it makes you wonder, like, there isn't humanity in these stories. And that's how I felt watching fucking Lift this year. That shit is just...
I didn't watch Lift.
It's nothing. Like, you or me could sit down and write that story. Like, it's nothing.
Well, I was literally laying there, like, putting on a movie at the end of the night. My wife was already asleep, but I was scrolling TikTok first, and I came across your video describing Lift as I had it ready to play on my screen. I was like, all right, I'll move on.
Yeah, man. It's just, the movie ends and you're just like, oh, okay. Like, nothing happened. Nothing happened. And just life goes on. So it's just, watch stuff that just makes you feel literally any kind of emotion, please.
Yeah, you guys are wild because you actually kind of go, because you probably went into Lift thinking it was going to be nothing, or I don't know if that's what you came out of it thinking. But when we talked about this concept of worst movies of the year, I did not go to these movies on purpose thinking they were the worst movies of the year, except you people, because you guys both watched You People. You're like, hey, you should watch it. I didn't go into Rebel Moon thinking it was going to be one of the worst movies of the year. It was. I don't go out of my way to watch. I watched like 75 movies or whatever last year. I could have watched 140 because I could have watched 70 shit movies, but I chose not to. But unfortunately, yeah, you guys are brave watching Lift and You People just outright.
Yeah, and I think that's the right way to do it, Stone, because like I said in my video about Lyft, the way people eventually will stop making this bullshit is if people stop fucking watching it. That's it. Like, And that falls. I mean, I'm guilty of that. Everyone is guilty of that. Like you see it and you're like, maybe this will be something, and then you watch it and it's like literal trash. And then it's like they just got to stream off that. They're making money off this. Like when we stop consuming it, we'll get better stuff. So
Well, yeah, but the
not that
part
there
that's
isn't.
killing that, the part that's killing that is like people will post the scene from You People where it's Eddie Murphy and Jonah Hill in the car where they're listening to the song about pals in Paris. And like
Yeah.
that scene is funny. I will give the movie that, but it goes viral on TikTok, so then everyone's like, "Oh, I gotta go watch it." So Netflix is like, "This is doing numbers." Like,
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like that's so much of marketing today is a couple moments that are funny or shocking. I mean, it's the Saltburn effect. Just a couple moments that like get people talking, and then it just spreads through the fucking internet, and it's free money. Like it's free money. And it doesn't quite matter what's around that as long as those moments exist. So yeah, I think you guys are spot on. But yeah, waste of time. Another waste of time.
yeah, you want to
feel
talk
like
about something on the same page as this? Did you guys watch Your Place or Mine?
No.
So bad.
Because it was a bad movie. Don't go out of my way to watch that. I have a lot better things to watch than Your Place or Mine.
Yeah, I don't, I don't commend my actions.
We all have moments of weakness. We watch trash, but let's try to
Not me.
limit them.
See, and then
join
there's
the
the opposite side where like I go in thinking Cocaine Bear is going to be a terrible movie, which it was, but I still found a lot of enjoyment in it.
Yeah, that's the best.
It wasn't
kind
my
of
worst
surprise.
movie.
Yeah.
I think it's bottom 15 for me.
I guess
It's also bottom 15 for me.
I guess to wrap up talking about these two movies, do you guys have anything nice to say about either of them? If you had like gun to your head if you had to, or just you can also just say no.
The
what
car
we
scene was
said-
funny.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Rebel Moon looked pretty.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go. I mean, what we said basically. I think Rebel Moon is cool. That is vaguely, sparsely a original idea, even though it doesn't feel like it. And there's so much potential that is not used. So I like that it's a big blockbuster original movie. So I like that going into it, and I still like that, even though it's awful. And then, like we said, I think that You People had potential of being a good drama, but then it's awkwardly a comedy where they're just racist the entire time. And that was not a smart move.
Yeah.
Both of them had potential.
I would agree with you there. And I feel like I wanted to feel about Rebel Moon like I did about The Creator. How I felt about The Creator was, look, this isn't the best thing in the world, but he's trying to do something new. He made a movie look excellent on a small budget. Obviously there's a lot of hard work there. Like I want to give it a little more credit maybe than it deserves because I appreciate it. But like this didn't even have that level. Like I didn't feel any heart in this movie, so it's like so difficult to even. And it just feels like a Frankenstein monster of like 10 other movies. So yeah, and You People, like you said, Stone, I think at the very core there was maybe something, but the way it was executed was just terrible. So yeah.
Yeah, the Creator is different, very interestingly compared to Rebel Moon, because even though the story of Rebel Moon is bad, and even though The Creator, nothing in it surprised me, at least the story is fine.
Yeah.
I wasn't rolling my eyes or anything, and there wasn't like huge exposition dumps that I saw or anything like that. I actually cared for the kids, stuff like that. But
yeah, it felt like it was written by a person. Like it felt like it was written by someone like actually writing a story, like not just generic, whatever.
Very much so.
Do you guys think if Star or like Lucasfilms picked it up, do you think any lightsaber fight could have been a redeeming quality for Rebel Moon?
There was a lightsaber fight.
They would have never picked it up.
Lightsabers.
I understand if you watch 3 seconds, probably 20 minutes of this movie, and you realize what they're going to do. It's not only because it's a bad movie. It's just A New Hope. It's just the original Star Wars. That's all it is. They're called the Imperium. It's not they probably didn't even get in the story. They're like, why on earth would we pick this up? It's the exact same thing. I mean, that's kind of how, The Force Awakens is a little bit. I mean, obviously, it's a better movie, but if let's say he pitched this the same time that they're thinking of doing The Force Awakens,
Yeah, they're
why are
not
you
going
gonna
to that.
why are you gonna do it? There's
Yeah,
there's
Rebel
nothing of
Moon.
value here.
Rebel Moon feels like great value brand Rogue One.
That's
Yeah,
just
yeah, with no heart at all.
All right,
Letdown.
let's move on. We're each gonna go over 3 movies of our own that we're just gonna do a quick synopsis that we hated this year. Stone, you want to take the lead on this?
my 3 movies. Okay. So I'll go with a movie that both of you guys haven't seen called She Came to Me. Only 8,000 people on Letterboxd have watched this movie. As we discussed previously, I watched this because I wanted an empty theater to film a TikTok video in, and I did. Actually, one lady came in later. That TikTok video did not blow up, unfortunately. They come, they go. But I did lose a lot of Reese's Pieces over it, so I am sad about that. But it's got Peter Dinklage in it, and Anne Hathaway and Marissa Tomei, and it's very strange story about Peter Dinklage being a composer of a Broadway musical, his wife is Anne Hathaway, but then he's looking for inspiration for his next project, and he comes across a tugboat captain played by Marissa Tomei, and he has an affair with her. But then Anne Hathaway and Peter Dinklage also have a like housemaid whose daughter is dating a boy, and he's African American or something like that, and their dad is low-key racist. And at the end of it, basically the maid's son or the maid's daughter and boyfriend get married in Vermont because they're underage. They're not over 18 or something like that, but you're able to get married in like New Jersey, or they go to some state where you're able to get married like that. And they do it on the tugboat of Marissa Tomei while Peter Dinklage is there. It is a fucking weird movie. Like they throw in the racist stuff like 30 minutes left in the movie. I'm like, where are we going with this? So it's just very strange.
I kind of want to watch that just for the ride. That's a hell of a story.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, it's very, very weird. So that's one. I think it's like a Tubi or a movie original, something like that, which I didn't know that when watching it. No, it's like a Sky original. Sky. I don't know what that is, but let's see here.
Right now, you're able to buy it on YouTube.
Yeah, wait till it's on sale. I'll tell you that. Another movie is Strays, which probably you guys have both heard of, but both of you haven't watched, right?
No, I wanted to see it.
I went into the movie, like we said, I don't go in purposely to bad movies, but I thought the concept was interesting, like having a comedy about dogs. I'm a big dog guy, so I was like, yeah, sure, I'll go watch it. And it's kind of like, it very much feels like Sausage Party, as in, let's just do a raunchy comedy, but put it, have a different spin on it. And it's just overbearing with like innuendo jokes like constantly, and I'm tired. I don't really like comedies, and I've said that constantly. I'm just tired of just sex jokes constantly and dick jokes and all this stuff. Like, it's so boring. Like, there was a moment in You People at the very beginning where they're talking about like dick or penis or something like that. I was like, that's not funny anymore. Like, stop talking about that stuff. It's lazy writing. So that is all that Strays is Sausage Party, but with dogs. It's just nothing but those jokes constantly, and I was just very disappointed.
Mushroom tripping scene.
It was fine, but the thing that also upsets me is maybe that would have been the best scene in the movie, but you saw it in the trailer. So it's like, all right, there it is. I've watched it 10 times. Here's the 11th time in the movie. It's fine now because I've seen it 10 times before. That was how I felt about the movie Smile. A lot of people liked that, and I wish I enjoyed it more, but the trailer of Smile, which I go to the movies a lot, so I watch the trailer a lot, it revealed every good like jump scare, every good one. So when I watched the movie, I literally knew how the movie was going to go because I was thinking about the trailer the entire time, and every single jump scare was in the trailer, so I wasn't really scared at all.
The marketing for that movie was insane.
It was good.
Yep.
Yeah,
like
that's why they're coming out the second one. That's why I make money.
Series smiling all 9 innings.
Yep. Movie was hot ass. Like, I really despise that movie.
I will say one thing that's cool that I saw is that like creature at the end of it was practical effects somewhat, which I think was pretty cool. The like one that sucks her face in or something like that.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah. But worst movie of the year for me was not You People. It was not Rebel Moon, even though Rebel Moon was second. It was a good old movie called Exorcist Believer. Was The Exorcist Believer, which is just a big pile of doo-doo. Even after the movie has come out, David Gordon Green, who did the trilogy of Halloween, supposedly he's left the project. And he was supposed to direct all the movies. Supposedly there was supposed to be a trilogy. Who is this? Universal bought the rights for like $300 million. And it's just a big old. So I wouldn't get into it now if you haven't been into it, because I don't think they're going to make any more movies, in my personal opinion. I think they've indefinitely delayed the second movie because they lost the director. But it is a strange movie that I had only watched Exorcist right beforehand, which is, shocking, but probably like 1 or 2 weeks before it. Really enjoyed it. And my least favorite thing about the film was that they purposely included OG characters, not for the story, but in order to, sell it in trailers. Like they brought back the mother. I can't remember her name, but they brought the mother from the Exorcist original movie. And they've showed her in the trailer a lot. But then her character does the dumbest shit in this movie that you wouldn't think she would do after, 40 years since what happened to her daughter. And at the end, the craziest thing is at the end of this movie, and you wouldn't believe this. Usually horror movies are all the same a lot of times, which is why Dan doesn't necessarily like them, I think, usually, right?
No.
But if I told you there was 10 or 11 people watching 2 little girls get possessed, you would think I'm crazy. How the hell are there 11 people at the end of this movie? But there are. They don't get rid of side characters. They're just all there at the end. And it's the strangest thing in the world why there's so many people there. And #1 review on the app says sucks ass. And I think that's pretty good. On Letterboxd, I think that's a pretty good description. I cannot believe how awful it was, but that's it. Treated the OG characters terribly, and I do not want to know why the Avengers were at the end of it. It's so stupid.
Have you looked at the director's filmography?
He does comedies. He came from comedies.
It's
I
so
believe,
strange.
yeah.
He directed Pineapple Express, Stronger, which was Jake Gyllenhaal's movie about the Boston Marathon bombing, the Halloween trilogy, like the newest one, and then like also this. His filmography is all over the place. He needs to pick a genre and stick with it.
I mean, I guess that's what he's trying to do. Like I said, he did the new Halloween trilogy, and then he was doing this, but there was like rumors going around that he's going to pick up the Scream franchise. So,
oh god,
that franchise should just end.
Yeah, they're
might be good for
A20.
A20. I think a lot of people get behind it, but A24 picks it up, and that's who. I mean, A24 has really wanted like a brand, like an IP, and I feel like people would be like, all right, I trust A24. I trust the filmmaker that put onto it. So that could work. And who knows, A24 could pick it up and then rehire the actresses that got fired or left the project.
That would go crazy. Imagine.
Yeah,
it would be very smart.
Oh my gosh.
I would enjoy that.
But yeah, those are the shit shows of 2023 for me.
Right, so my #4 is one that I feel like a lot of people have seen, Meg 2. This movie shouldn't have been made. We were complaining about this prior to starting this episode, but I mean, there hasn't been a good shark movie in ages. Like Deep Blue Sea is one of my personal favorites, but it's, not a stellar movie. And then Jaws. Other than that, we haven't got really a single good shark movie. And Meg 1, I never thought it was going to be picked up for a sequel. And this one just is all over the place. Introducing dinosaurs with no explanation behind it. Just random little creatures that can swim and run on land are just like eating people. All the excessive, explosions. Now there's like 5 Megs, 4, something like that. And also, Jason Statham should have died in the first one or this one by sacrificing himself.
Yeah, I think the original Meg is like considered like it's probably like a top 10, 15 all-time shark movie. Like it's pretty beloved. Stone did mention you should watch The Shallows if you haven't seen it. Stone mentioned that earlier. You'll like it. That's a solid shark movie.
Also, I don't care about this, but Blake Lively's in it, so in the star.
Yeah.
But I don't care about that.
You might not care about it. I care about it.
No, not at all. I was just very much paying attention the entire time, though. You don't get distracted. Well, you do watching the movie, but your eyes will not turn away from it.
But yeah, it makes you wonder. I mean, I think they just thought this was going to be free money, Connor, and it just.
Yeah. I
Hot
mean,
take.
I get it.
I watched Meg 1 of the first Meg, the Meg. Before I watched it, I actually went to watch Meg 2, and I liked it better. And Meg
You like
2,
Meg 2 better?
Meg 2 was exactly what I wanted it to be, man. It was exactly what I wanted it to be. I wanted Jason Statham. I wanted the dinosaurs unexplained. I mean, I will
you
say,
should make that video, man. Make a video. The Meg 2 is better than the Meg. I'm telling you.
no, my hot
Yeah.
take is the hot take that I wanted to share for a while, but I think I told you this, but I like Avatar 1 better than Avatar: The Way of Water. That's my hottest take in the world.
I think
That I
Avatar's
might
the most
share
overrated
eventually.
franchise in movie history. So
Yeah, I think the story, there's a lot of story beats. I think the story in the first one is so simple, and obviously it's a copy of Pocahontas and what's the other one? Dancing with
Dances
Wolves.
with
And
Wolves.
yeah, but the thing is, I think that works when you watch it as the first film because you're so mesmerized with Pandora, and that's what the focus is of the movie. Which you should also have a good story, and it is technically a decent story because I mean it's been used so many times. I mean it's a safe story, but there's so many story problems that I have with the second one that I hated. But yeah, Meg 2 was I mean I watched 75 films this year, and it was my 68th favorite film, but I still enjoyed it more than you people.
well, and that's the thing. Like, I think this movie is so bad, but I do still find enjoyment out of it because of how bad it is. Like, it's not in the same category for me as Rebel Moon and You People, but I mean, it's
a meme.
just yeah. It's basically turning into the Sharknado franchise.
Yeah, I
And
wonder
it did
if
make
they'll
money,
another
Dan.
one and go even deeper, like off, like jump the shark. No pun intended. Even more.
I hope.
Oh yeah, no, I hope at this point I want there to be a third and for them to just overboard as much as they can.
I'm
We can
down.
only hope.
Yeah. All right.
So
now
pumped.
my other two movies are ones that I actually hated. 65 is my second worst movie of the year, outside of the two that we mentioned. But 65, I mean, they shouldn't have ruined it in the trailer that it was dinosaurs. Like, without that, this movie might have been taken in a better way, because all we know is Adam Driver's on a spaceship and they go, like, I think it's 65 million years back, and he's just with one random girl that can't speak the same language as him. If it would have been a surprise that it was dinosaurs, it would have like blown most of the audience like away. Like, they could have made him think it was going to be aliens in the trailer, like something else paranormal. But then we only get like maybe 10 minutes of dinosaur screen time.
Oh, that's a bummer.
enough
I didn't watch
dinosaurs.
it. I heard that was a booty, so I skipped her.
Yeah. Well, also, it just seems like the director didn't know much about like his cast either, because a story came out about it. Adam Driver is like well known for being a Marine in Hollywood, and the director asked Adam Driver if he knew how to handle a gun properly for when they start shooting.
Sounds like that was uncomfortable. Probably. It's a weird moment.
This is a different world though. They might handle the guns differently in his mind in the script.
They built the
Yeah.
rifles like they look like Halo rifles, basically.
Yeah, I
And
didn't
then-
watch this either, but like, is it watchable for like fun or like laughs or just no?
It's no Meg 2. It's no Meg 2. I'll tell you that.
You're gonna be bored, honestly.
Okay,
Like, there's
that's a
like
waste of Adam Driver, man. Like,
Oh, 100%. There's like a jump scare where they're like sleeping in a cave, but he puts up these motion detectors, and all of a sudden there's like just a T-Rex outside the cave, which is also in the trailer.
it's like we just talked about with Smile, dude. Like, these movies are so like they're so desperate to get you in the seats. They'll just give away everything, and it's like, have a little patience and a little subtlety, like in the trailer, get people interested. Like, don't make a 2.5 minute. I mean, has been talked to death, but like,
Yes.
I'm so tired of it, man. Like,
Well,
Speaking of which,
dude,
I'm glad you brought that up because I don't know if you saw the trailer right before you got on, but they just dropped a new trailer for a Jordan Peele produced movie called
I heard about it.
Monkey Man, and Dev Patel is directing it and starring in it. And I was watching it. I was like, okay, it's basically just like an Indian action movie. And I was like, okay, this looks sick. But I was like, okay, this looks sick. Okay, this still looks sick. I was like, why is the trailer still going? And the trailer is 3 minutes long. It's like,
Yeah.
why is this so long?
Well, I mean, as highly as I regard Across the Spider-Verse, like the final scene, it was in the first trailer that they dropped for that movie.
It's so whack. And like,
Yeah.
everyone is doing it. Like, even with the fucking Marvels, they put Beast in the fucking trailer, man. Like, there's no.
I still haven't seen Marvels.
There's no like. There's no surprises. There's no like. They're just like, oh, please see this movie, please, please. Like, it just. It's so much better if people would get to that ending and they're like, oh my god, like wow. But everyone already knew it was all over the internet before the movie came out. Like, just.
I have some good news.
The reason they might have been pushing that. The reason they might have been pushing that trailer so hard is because of my worst movie of the year, which I would watch You People and Rebel Moon over Quantumania. I fucking hated Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. Every fiber of my being.
You and many other people.
Yeah, the best parts of the movie are the first 5 minutes and the last 3 minutes where it's just Paul Rudd walking down New York City streets talking to himself. Everything in between that, terrible. The CGI, like, you can tell there are certain parts where Michelle Pfeiffer is like reaching her hand out and she's not even touching anything, but she's supposed to be like shaking hands or like dabbing up like one of the characters. I mean,
does Michelle Pfeiffer dab up somebody in this movie?
I can't remember if it was a handshake or a dab. Or like a high five.
Like that guy with the holes?
Yeah. And then
I just upped it 1 star just now.
Kang, he's supposed to be, you know, this big bad, the next Thanos. And few things is he almost lost just a straight up fist fight to Paul Rudd. Like without his suit and his power ups, like he almost lost. Like Ant-Man's like a good superhero and strong, but like without his suit, he's nothing. He's a 40-year-old man who's not in the best shape. And then there's a scene where like Ant-Man and his daughter are both in Kang's prison, and Kang is like threatening his daughter's life, and Ant-Man thinks it's the right time to make a joke about how he has a similar physique, Hemsworth.
Nice.
I fucking hated everything about this movie.
Yeah, it's really, really bad, and like it felt not finished. Like it felt like it was rushed out, which is, I think, was one of the things that put up so many people's antennas about the MCU in general. Like, this seems like there's maybe more wrong than people might realize. Because it seemed like the people that were working on that visually like were either super rushed and not given enough time and resources to do their job, or they just were like, "Fuck it, we're gonna put it out looking like this." Like the MODOK thing. Like I'm not sure who's making those decisions, but it was bad.
Well, and then also,
I was gonna say the reason why these stories are so awful, I can just think of this one in the Marvels, is the fact that Marvel's shooting themselves in the foot because they're so focused on their overarching story that the actual character stories are just dog shit. Because if you think of like the best, are we in Phase 5 now? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. If you think of like obviously Guardians of the Galaxy, good movie this year, did not focus anything about the universe, just those guys. I would look at 2 other ones. I would say Black Panther Wakanda Forever was okay and decent, and it doesn't focus on any really multiverse stuff. Maybe the Iron Girl is like a little distracting because my stupid movie brain, I can only think that she's there for a spinoff show, and I don't really think of her as a character in the movie. But I would say Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi has nothing really to do with any multiverse stuff. Like there was a tease obviously at the end, but it's just kind of his story and he's just doing his own thing, and there's all this lore about him, and I found that really interesting. But these stories are just made, the MCU is just bad because all these, they had these own original stories that they, you know, joined together into one big thing, and now they're trying to take that one big thing and join it again, and it's just not going to work. So yeah, that's why, in my opinion, Quantumania was really bad, because I wish it was not as big and crazy as it was.
Yeah. I also wish they wouldn't have put Bill Murray in for ticket sales.
Anything for a buck. That's a great choice, though. Can I jump into my choices here?
Yeah, feel free. Actually, one last thing. Where did Michael Pena go for this one, too?
He got out at the right time.
Piece. Yeah, honestly.
What's that one actor who's in everything? he was in
You're gonna have to narrow that
he's
down.
in Oppenheimer. Yeah. Well, he was in Oppenheimer, and then he was in the Last Voyage of the Demeter, and he's like in The Dark Knight. That one dude, what's his name? Who's in every
Oh, I
single?
know who you're
Yes.
talking about.
Yes.
David
He was in the first two
David
Ant-Mans.
Malkian.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought he was in
He
this
played
movie.
Polka Dot Man in Suicide Squad.
Yeah. I thought he was in this movie. Oh yeah, yes, he voices
is.
Veb, whoever Veb is.
So I thought a lot about this. I have two movies that I think are genuine trash. The third one, I kind of wanted to go something that I think was more disappointing. And there's a lot of options for that. I think Knock at the Cabin was a complete waste of time. I've talked about M. Night before. I think he's been mostly making dog shit for 20 years. It's another thing where like he has this insane fan base that supports him no matter what. And I'm not sure why, because I think he consistently lets them down with a few exceptions, most notably The Visit. I really like from 2015, I think. But this movie, Dave Bautista does everything he can to save it. He is commanding. He's interesting. He's a presence on the screen. I like the main couple, Ben Aldridge and Jonathan Groff. I think they're solid, but like the story itself, it just kind of goes and it doesn't tell you much. It doesn't really give you a lot of answers, and then it just kind of ends. And then I feel like you kind of sit there with it and are like, okay, what is the takeaway? Like, it didn't really have as much of an emotional impact on me as I thought it should have or could have, and just ended up being really kind of empty for me. And I was just really disappointed again with M. Night. And yeah, I've seen people have this in their worst movies of the year. I've seen people have it in their best movies of the year. But yeah, not for me. And I'm not going to sit here and call it trash, but just wanted to talk about it because I hadn't really talked about it before. Getting into the real garbage, I would say The Nun 2 is hot ass. That movie is such a waste of time. And the unfortunate thing is Thaisa Farmiga, I think she's really cool. Like I like her character. I think she's a good actor. And like I said this when I reviewed it, I want to see her character in a different universe with different writing, like almost as like a Van Helsing, like just fighting off whatever kind of evil shit, something interesting. Because this was not that. Like the fucking nun is on the screen, I shit you not, for maybe 5 minutes of this movie. And as you guys said earlier, the best scare in this movie is at the newspaper stand, and it's in the trailer. And I literally sat there like this and watched it. I was just like, yes, I know what's happening because I already saw this, because this is what you sold the movie on. The story is nothing. There's just a MacGuffin. We're chasing it around. The nun shows up at the end. End of movie. Like it was such a complete waste of time.
That's probably so hard from a marketing standpoint. Like when you genuinely have a trash movie, it's like, okay, we have one good scare. We got to get people in the theater. Yes, it'll be exposed to tons of people, and they already know that it's coming, but we got to put it in the trailer. It's the best thing that we got. This was in the bottom of my thing as well. I will say one thing that saved it. It's so funny. I have Knock at the Cabin right above this. It's because the ending is bonkers, and I loved it. The ending is wild in this movie.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's good action. It feels like they were. It feels like they had an ending, and then they were like, okay, how do we get to this 20 minutes? Okay, bullshit, and then a scene that we're gonna put all the money and effort into. Like, it was so frustrating because like the nun herself is cool, and the first one's okay. Like. And like I said, Thaisa Farmiga, I like her character, but like, man, this was just a waste of my time.
What's your guys' thoughts on The Nun 1?
It's fine.
I think I like this one better.
Oh, you got
I'm not, yeah. Meg 2, Nun 2. I mean, I'm feeling these sequels.
Dude,
I saw 38 sequels coming out this year. I'm pumped.
As both of you know, I am not a horror movie guy at all, but I was still in the Marine Corps when the first Nun came out, and it was during Hurricane Florence. We left and went to Raleigh, North Carolina from my base, and we got hammered off pictures of mojitos. And they're like, "All right, let's go see The Nun." And I was like, "Absolutely the fuck not." And my buddy looked at me and goes, "Well, I'm your designated driver, so that sucks." Dude, so I was hammered when I saw The Nun. That shit was terrifying. And then I rewatched it again like a year later, and it was so boring.
Yeah, I mean it's okay, but just overall, it did nothing for me. I almost put another horror movie in my third spot. Did you guys watch When Evil Lurks?
No.
No, I'm surprised that you didn't like that. Wow.
That shit was stupid. Like,
No.
I'm sorry, man. I heard people gas this up, so I'm gonna make a video about it. It's gonna upset people, but like that shit was so dumb. But that's not what I'm putting in my last spot because the worst movie of the year is called Nefarious. This is kind of one like you said. So I think like 13,000 people have this.
It's like a religious movie, isn't it? A little bit, like it's from a religious company. I heard when you mentioned this, I was like,
dude,
I've never heard of that, and I looked up the poster and I was like, oh, I remember when this was coming out.
This is on Amazon Prime. I'm not really going to get into the details. Basically, the storyline's really cool. So basically you have this like crazy serial killer. He's on death row. He's about to be executed this day. They bring in a psychiatrist to essentially see if he's like sane, so that he like if he is sane, he's going to be executed that night. And basically the movie is their conversation, and they're basically on screen the whole time. It's Sean Patrick Flannery plays the killer. This movie, about halfway in, you realize it's basically a far-right propaganda movie, and it's one of the weirdest turns I've seen in a long time, because basically you have the villain of the story who's a demon. This man is saying he's possessed, and you find out he is possessed. The demon is basically spewing like far-right rhetoric at the liberal lawyer and like critiquing him, and you're supposed to be agreeing with the demon, and that is the movie. And I'm not going to get into all the details of what he's talking about because he goes into a lot of different things, and it's just one of the most bizarre watches I've ever seen, and something that like was a cool premise, and then I was just like, this is very strange.
Did you know that going in? Did you know it was kind of like a right movie? Yeah, I bet that was wild. I knew that it had some like I think it was a religious production company that was behind it.
I started, and like as it started kind of turning, I was like, huh, like this is interesting. It was a weird watch, and yeah, you're supposed to be sympathizing with the demon serial killer, so
it's different.
That's the movie, and I think it was the most dog shit thing I've watched this year. So
insert them into You People, and you might have a good political comedy movie.
I would say the spread on this movie is crazy on Letterboxd. Like it's like all over the place. Like people have given it 5 stars. Like I think the most, even though it has a 2.6 average, like the most one it looks like is like 3.5 that people have given it. Like the spread, or tons of people have also given it 1 stars, like or half stars. Like it's wild.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it's clearly like just if you have
for a certain type of people. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not even like. I think a lot of like typical conservatives would even be like, this is fucking weird. This is really for like people. It's far right. Like it's really wild. So yeah, I thought about turning it off, but I was like, okay, I'm gonna see how this ends, and the end is fucking stupid too. So.
Oh, so you watched it at home?
Yeah.
I thought you watched it in the theater.
Absolutely not. No. No. So yeah, Nefarious is my worst movie of the year. I might make a video on this.
You have to check Exorcist Believer. Let me know which one's worse. Meg 2 is above all of these. We have we've shared 15 movies. No. Like 9 movies, I guess. Meg 2's on top. If we were ranking these, best movie.
Honestly.
Even though
because it's still enjoyable.
Even though I do have The Nun 2 and Knock at the Cabin higher, I'm changing it. Meg 2 above them.
In terms of like
honestly,
enjoyability, I feel like We've had a total turn here on Meg 2 over the course of the last hour.
It's
Over
funny.
the
I wanted
last
to tell
5
you.
minutes.
Yeah, with Knock at the Cabin, these are movies that I have higher than Knock at the Cabin. I have Cocaine Bear, Megan, The Marvels. Like, yeah, I didn't. I was very disappointed by Knock at the Cabin. Probably my second most disappointing movie of the year.
Wait, so Megan was technically 2023, right? Because it was like right at the beginning of the year.
It was in
Yeah, it came
January.
out
It
in
was
like
basically
January.
last year's. It was like last year's Night Swim.
It's such a like there were moments of that were so funny, like so genuinely funny, but they were just so few and far between. That could have been hilarious. Like,
Wasn't there like a PG-13 and an R version that was released?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's just blood in the our room. I don't think it was that different.
yeah, I like. It was just kind of. It was really meh, but like there were a few moments that like it almost started out feeling like a Black Mirror episode, like super satirical and like leading into that, and I loved it. But then it just kind of went kind of safe and just boring. So that was definitely a letdown too.
Did you guys watch Dumb Money from last year?
No,
Yeah, I thought it was exactly what I expected. It was just fine.
Yeah.
It's just
They
fine.
they just put it on Netflix, so I watched it the other day, and it's exactly how you just described it, Stone. I was looking forward to it because like I've always loved like finance or like numbers. Like it's what I'm trying to go to with my career path. Like half those books back there are all finance related. I was so bored this entire movie, and Pete Davidson again was just there. It's the same thing with the new Transformers. As I hated that Pete Davidson voiced one of them because it's all I could hear.
yeah,
Pete Davidson's getting paid, man. Good for him.
I mean, yeah, and he's just collecting his Infinity Stones of women in Hollywood.
Good for him as well. I mean, if he treats him respectfully and everything. Respectfully getting his stones.
he's a character. Are there any other movies you guys just want to like give a tiny mention to in terms of being awful before we wrap up here?
Being awful, Murder Mystery 2.
Yes.
Did not watch it.
Yeah, do not watch that, anyone, please.
Also, Fast X.
Did not
I
watch it.
didn't even see it, to be honest.
I don't know
My big
why
thing
I
is I
watched it.
haven't watched the other ones, so I don't want to. Like that's like the series that I do not want to get to eventually, but I will. But it's like I'm not gonna watch Fast 10 if I haven't watched Fast and Furious 6 or whatever.
Fast and Furious is good up until about 5.
Mm.
Dan, have you seen all the Fast and Furiouses?
Yes, except for the last one.
I'm assuming you don't give a shit if I spoil it for you.
No,
So somehow Gal Gadot's character is still alive. She comes back.
of course.
Money.
They leave.
They're
They
all
leave
they're
off
all
on the.
superheroes. They're all like literally invincible superheroes. Yeah.
Oh
It's
yeah.
crazy.
They lead off though that like the whole crew besides Dominic dies naturally. John Cena's back. It's just ridiculous. Oh, but he also dies.
Damn,
Air
they really
quotes.
went big.
Next thing you know, Paul Walker is going to come back from the dead, and that's going to be their big selling point. So people go see the part 2 and 3.
Just
Maybe
CGI
use-
Paul Walker.
On his brother's face, I think that's what they did for the Furious 7 or Furious or whatever it's called.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
last scene that he was in. Sure was sad.
My biggest hot take, I guess this is the movie I probably have ranked lower than a lot of people, as I didn't really enjoy. I just don't like comedies. I didn't like Anyone But You. I watched that, and it didn't really make me laugh. Glenn Powell even didn't make me laugh really, which is shocking because I think Glenn Powell's really funny sometimes. But I didn't think Sydney Sweeney was that funny. The funniest character is not one of the two main characters, so that's a big problem. But yeah, I didn't really like my other biggest disappointment of the year. I didn't rank it really low. I ranked it as a 3, but I didn't really like American Fiction that much. And I know you guys probably haven't watched that yet, but that was a big disappointment for me as well. But also I watched Naiad. I have it as my 51st ranked movie of the year, and it's so funny that I got nominated for 2 Oscars.
Yeah, it's genuinely wild.
It's informative. It's an interesting filmed movie. Like the movie itself is very interesting, but it's just gives you a lot of info on long distance swimming and the mindset of someone who does that, and then also the crew that she needs to do it. But that's about it. There's nothing special about the movie. The performances are fine. I mean, they're good actresses, but
What's your guys' thoughts on Wonka?
oh, dude, sick. Are you gonna get that Dune Part 2 popcorn bucket?
Are we going to talk about what that thing looks like?
Dan didn't see it yet. Did you see it, Dan?
I saw it. I saw it right.
Oh,
before.
okay.
Pretty wild.
I don't know how you would pull your popcorn out there. I feel like it'd get stuck on purpose or on accident, you know?
All in all, this was a really good year for movies, I think. Generally really exciting and enjoyable. There was some trash though. So it's always fun to talk about both sides of that spectrum.
I mean, yeah, you're going to get trash, but for the most part, this seems like a year of very original ideas where it's been lacking the last 5.
Yeah. Plus, there was a lot of stuff coming out that like I think was pushed back and delayed, and you know. What were we gonna say, Stone?
I said this is probably more fun for me, like when we do this next year, if we do the same, idea and talk about this again, because going into 2023, I'm like, all right, I'll probably like Oppenheimer, I'll probably like Spider-Verse, and both of those movies are in my top 5, but I don't go out of my way to purposely watch that movie. So I have no idea what movie I'm going to watch in 2024 that's going to make the bottom of my list next year. I've only watched 2 movies this year, maybe 1. I've only watched Mean Girls, I think, so far, because Society of the Snow is technically a 2023 release.
You don't go out of your way to watch bad movies, but you thought the Mean Girls remake was going to be top tier?
No, my wife wanted to go watch it. And I should have released a video about it, but I didn't. But I mean, there's also nothing in the theater. I didn't go see Night Swim. So there's nothing in the theater right now. But I mean, we're somewhat content creators, so we got to go out and watch this shit.
Yeah.
Or you could just make videos about older movies. But
yeah, it's also fun because like we just talked about 9 different movies that we disliked, and like we all had something different. And you never know, like subjectively, what's going to strike a chord with you positively or negatively. But sometimes I think it's more interesting to see like what people don't like or what bothers them in terms of figuring out like what their taste looks like, and like understanding stuff they enjoy too. So it's fun. It's fun to talk about.
All right, boys. Well, it's been fun. Stone, welcome to the podcast.
All right, welcome, I was sweating. Like I had big stains down here. I was like, hopefully that first one went well, because hopefully my bad movies were good in a sense. Because
great picks.
Appreciate that. I'm glad I could convince you guys to like Meg 2. The Trench. I think we're very disrespectful not calling it The Trench, because that's its official title. So when we talk about it next week again, we'll make sure to get that right.
My dearest of all.
Still need that video about the Meg 2 being better than the Meg.
Yeah.
Stir up some controversy.
I don't want to revisit them at all. I will release that. The longest review I've ever done on this app of the old Letterbox has been Avatar 2, and I had a lot to say of why I hated Avatar. I didn't hate it. I gave it a 3.5. It's a beautiful film, but the story is just booty. Oh, the bros, yeah. I don't want to get into that. We'll get into it one day in a video. But
I think my longest review ever on Letterboxd was the Harvey Weinstein movie called You, or not You People.
She Said.
She Said. I think that's my longest review.
Was it a good review or a bad review?
Overall, good.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I ended up giving that movie like a 4-star out of 5.
Nice. Dandy, you don't write reviews, right?
I've written 0 reviews on Letterboxd. 0.
What's your longest video about a movie that you've done on TikTok? I mean, that's a stupid question. I don't know how you'd be able to know.
No, it's not a stupid question. There's definitely, I know there's a couple. It might have been Oppenheimer. I talked for a while on Oppenheimer, which was probably stupid because I probably should have made it more succinct. But I just feel like I had a lot to say. I think that was about 3 minutes.
Was that one of your earlier videos?
Yeah,
like when you first started.
I'll
have to look at that. I don't know if I've seen that.
There's some stuff I've done that I almost want to like redo. Like, especially there's a movie that I like love that I talked about way back that like just no one saw. But yeah, I might do that as I move forward. But yeah.
It's funny, Connor, I was going to say this earlier, but it's funny that Dan mentioned this because I know he has an old video about this that blew up. But probably my most surprising first watch, so older movie that I watched in 2023 was a horror movie, The Descent. Have you ever watched that movie? I know you're not a big horror guy.
No, but I've heard of it.
That's a genuinely, surprisingly, really good movie. It's a sick concept. It is really cool.
Someone else recommended that to me not long ago.
Yeah, Connor, watch
So
that ASAP for sure.
Okay.
I was gonna say for Halloween, but you can do it tonight if you want.
Ah. Dude, I'll watch Elf tomorrow if I feel like it.
Well, I was gonna watch a different movie tonight, but Dan was talking about Watchmen so much, so I guess I'll watch Watchmen instead of Tombstone. I was gonna watch Tombstone.
Oh
for the
my
first
god,
time,
bro,
but
watch Tombstone.
I've never seen it.
Both of you, please. That's all. That's like a top. It's very high on my all-time list. It's very high. It's excellent.
Well, I remember texting you to try to predict what your 4 favorites were, and I said Tombstone. I don't know if you said I was wrong, but I know you love Tombstone a lot.
I think so. My favorites right now on Letterboxd are
I'm excited. I'm excited.
American History X, Banshees of Inisherin, The Assassination of Jesse James by the Coward Robert Ford, and the fourth one is
Master and Commander.
No, that's one I love. Hold on, I literally have it pulled up right here. Phantom Thread, because Phantom Thread's just.
Are you still keeping your letterbox under wraps, Dan?
Yeah, I don't remember if I was talking to you about this, Stone.
Me, you're talking to me.
I see so much. People are just annoying as fuck, to be real. And I feel like I see people like going through people's letterbox and be like, "Oh, why did you rank this, like this and that?" Like, nah. Like, I almost would rather just keep this for myself.
That's
and
fair.
Like, but someday, and also like I like writing. Actually, I'm gonna start writing for a smaller media outlet starting like very soon. So I'm gonna get to start writing, which I'm excited about. But I want to start writing on here too. But that's a good reason, I guess, I would give it out. But
it's called The Hollywood Reporter. It's a small media outlet.
The New York Times, yeah. No, but yeah, I do love writing. So I would like to write about movies that I love. So I eventually will do it. Just not yet.
Yeah, I sent Dan a screenshot. There was the video I made about Letterbox. There was movies with Juan. Juan, he commented and said, "Hey, I just got a Letterbox. Still trying to figure it out." Because of him, that's sick. Yeah, but someone commented under it. It's like, man, you really talk about movies and you just got a Letterbox. Like, what in the world? And I made the point of saying that Chris Stuckman, which is a YouTube reviewer that I've watched for 9-10 years, who has 2 million subscribers on YouTube, just said, "Hey, I just made a Letterbox account. I'm just going to log stuff that I watched." So it's stupid to be judged for. You could talk about movies and not have a Letterbox account.
Well, Juan hopped in my live the other day, and I just gave him like a bit of a hard time. I was like, "Man, you review movies and you don't have a Letterbox?" Like,
I'm talking to Connor right now. All these bullies. Connor's like,
yeah, you fucking suck. Anyway, no, but I like told him, I was like, "You should definitely download it though." And then like I was his first follower. Like,
cool.
I say it in a joking manner, and then we'll support you afterward.
Nice.
Yeah, some people are just so condescending and just like rude in the way they talk to other people about like their taste and like just everything about movies, and it's just so annoying and frustrating and like just makes you want to rip people a new asshole. But yeah, the less of that there is, the better, because it's that they're just movies at the end of the day. It's just fun. So
yeah. Stone, what's your top 4 on Letterboxd?
It's so funny because like I know I can't do I haven't watched that. I watched a lot of movies compared to a normal person, but I haven't watched many in my opinion. Like there's still so many classics that I still need to watch. So I've never done like a top 100 favorite. I've watched over 100 films, obviously, in my opinion, but I just whatever I'm feeling kind of thing. So I liked Her a lot. That was probably the most recent rewatch that I really dug. Not rewatch, it was a first time watch. And then a few months ago, probably 5 or 6 months ago, I watched 10 Things I Hate About You for the first time. I was genuinely shocked by how much I liked that movie and by how attractive Heath Ledger was in that movie. Yeah. And I was like, I totally get. I forgot that he sang to her, and I was like, oh shit, okay, pretty good guy. And then Everything Everywhere All at Once is what really got me into movies. I generally love that movie. And then Social Network, which is nothing compared to The Dragon Tattoo, but Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, automatically, Fincher's top film, even though you know who the killer is the entire time. But whatever.
Huge W. That's a good top
Even-
4 though. Have you guys seen really quickly? Have you guys seen The Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford?
Nope.
Go watch that fucking movie.
I heard it's really great. Too long of a title though.
The title is crazy long, but like, it's something special. Brad Pitt's crazy good in it, and I don't even like Casey Affleck, but he's great. And then there's Sam Rockwell, Jeremy Renner, Paul Schrader. Like it's crazy. It's crazy.
The director directed Blonde too. Ooh.
Don't worry about that.
Ignore that.
About this.
Nice.
Anything else here, guys, before we wrap up?
I don't think so.
Okay, good.
All right. It's been a pleasure, boys.
Until next time.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Schedule it out.
See you guys.
Later, boys.